which brings us to Peter Ryan's report. I didn't see Peter. Great, thank you.
Just about the last one of the year, getting close anyway. It's still very steady, still quite positive. Just a brief run through because you've seen these numbers before. Levels of service going very well. They're at a high. Capital projects delivery to milestones not quite on track, but there is still time before the end of the year. Funding budgets allocated on track for 26. Still a little bit of room left for 27. So we'll have to see what the year end brings. Before I go on there was a conversation yesterday around this table on deliverability, and I got asked a question afterwards. So I just want to clarify something about these goals. When talking about capital, you can talk about spend, or what the Americans call burn rate, or the other goal here is outcomes, what's actually delivered on the ground on time. For a long time, we didn't have that, and so we used spend as a proxy for deliverability. I just was asked the question, why are the two numbers different? And it's because they're different things. One is delivered to milestones, the other one is rate of spend. So one's at 93, one's at 83. I was asked what's the difference, and that's why they're actually different things. Both required in a conversation around deliverability. I just wanted to tease that apart because they're often used as the same thing when they're not. Value for money, as I explained earlier at the other meetings, we're fine overall. In fact, we're in surplus, but there are some individual activities that are over. That's a budgeting issue that's being looked at. It may not necessarily come right for those individual activities, but they're always unders and overs. Overall, though, we're in surplus. And that's really it. We finished the year. We looked at the year very close to a clean sweep, if not literally a clean sweep. Then near as damn it that it doesn't make any difference. So that's been a very positive year for us. I'm hoping those numbers land stable. Report for year end. Now, there's no questions from councillors from the last meeting. The level of service exceptions are there, and if I can answer them on the spot, I'm happy to. But if not, I'm happy to go back to the service and come back to you next month.
That's perfect. Thank you, Peter. That's really good. And obviously, just to note the second recommendation around the LTP, which you'll be working on.
Yes, we're bringing back a report to 23rd of July on the upcoming LTP implications or scenarios around rates capping. We don't literally know exactly what's being proposed.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back to you how it might work so that the thinking is warmed up when these things might come into play.
Yep. No, that's really good. Does anyone have any questions? No, well, I'm happy to move it.
Second that.
You have a second. Do you have a question?
Sorry,
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Just looking at like the crash rates, for example, just 35, reduce the number of death and serious injury crashes on the local road network. I'm just wondering if we get a list of like the worst. I mean, I've raised this before, but like having a geospatial map of where the accidents are happening and the crashes would be quite useful to know where our spend is going. And I remember one time, actually, it was really good. The guys in the wastewater actually provided a map of the complaints that they were getting with the odour, and then a list of the project that were directly related to addressing those complaints were coming from. So it's quite helpful to see where there's either gaps or actually that work is going on in the areas that are causing the targets to be failed.
Look, I'm sure we'll have a word in a moment, but yes, it's definitely possible to compile it now. I just want to revisit the purpose of this measure. It's a somewhat clumsy measure. It's one of the DIA mandatory ones, and what they're looking for from us as an outcome is that we investigate crashes and fatalities and so forth to determine if our infrastructure was a contributing factor. So the cheap way of looking at it is, a goal in which we understand who got hurt. The purpose of it is meant to trigger a post-mortem of our infrastructure. Was there any issue with our infrastructure that led to it? Or was it simply human error? Because accidents do happen. So the map won't tease out the difference between an issue where our infrastructure may have been a factor versus someone just made a mistake. So the map will need to be not read at face value, is what I'm saying. Certainly possible to create, I'm sure. Is that a fair summary, Lynette?
This summary. It is a fair summary that I can't really add to too much, except that we've had a number of presentations, you've had a number of presentations over the past about how we deal with our safety program and how we prioritise it. So both at council and through your community boards. And we have a number of mechanisms that we do that through that build off this fresh data. So it's not just we also have a lag. So we have a lot of intersections in particular that have we have a lag in being able to do things. I can get a memo back on that for you.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting to see. Like there's obviously 95 and 22, 108, 116, and then it's dropped down from 116 to 92. So, you know, the trend would look like it's had a blip and maybe it's coming back down, but
that's why we use a 5-year. There's a couple of measures in there, and why we use a 5-year rolling average as well, because you can have a bad year, which is just a bad year.
Okay, cool. So that's been moved and seconded, and so you'll be able to get some information back.
There's some information, but I can't promise through the chair. I can't promise it'll be a map, but I'll
Yeah.
let you know what information we've got and what you have, what you can see.
Cool. All right. So that's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you,
Thanks,
Peter.
everyone.
Yep. Very much. That's great.